Hello and welcome to another installment in BTB work in progress videos. I'm going to show off the string objects for a second time. There's been some advancements made on that, and it's really thanks to the people that have purchased BTB or donated money towards the cause that I've been able to spend so much time on getting these new features in. I've taken time off work over the past few months, and that's why you're seeing some great leaps in recent times. So thanks to all the support. Here I've added a string object, and I've already demonstrated while blabbering on that you can modify the terrain underneath it, and it automatically folds and bends to its will. Very useful if you're making a lot of modifications to your track. To do that in any other editor is just going to take hours and hours, so it saves you a bit of time. You can modify these patterns, so I can change how things begin. Let's just throw in a stupid object for the moment, so that you can see that ripple strip sitting there. You remove that. You can change the pattern as well. If I added in that same silly ripple strip there, you can see how that's being affected. If I want to change the randomness of both of those objects, do so here. Don't worry if I'm moving too fast. This isn't really an instructional video. I'll cover those in some tutorial videos later on. It's more just to show you what's coming up. So I can remove that randomness, and there's a lot of settings there. You can put space before and space after, so I can space these out a bit. You could remove that so it looks more like a wall, and you know, scale's fairly obvious. You can change everything to be shorter. Rotate, well, it's already kind of happening in the randomness side of things. And you can replace the object if I wanted to replace that with something else. So any object that you can use using the objects tool can now be brought in and used in a string object, and they are efficiently rendered when you export to Richard Burns Rally. It's using a technique called instancing, and it's very good at doing a number of objects many times over. We're going to add a different piece this time. Let's just do a ripple strip, and I'll pick this one. It's not my favourite one, but is unique in terms of the pattern. So I just want to make sure, put a small strip there. What's different about a ripple strip, and a lot of these things have their own properties here, is that the vertices, as it says here, are moved to follow the ground below. The objects before in the tire wall were, but not all of the points in the tire object. Whereas in this case, it's still fairly quick to calculate, but it's more CPU intensive in that each of these individual points are lowered to the ground according to where they were in their original object. With the tire wall before, you saw the whole tire, the bottom of the tire in fact is moved down to the bottom of the ground, and other points may sit up and down. The reason these are a little bit different is because you want the ripple strips to follow the ground very closely when you export these, and it's more likely you'll be doing that to rFactor, which handles these objects well. You want the objects to sit very closely to the ground, so there you go. You can create ripple strips all pretty quickly. If you look at these up close, and I'll just create another one here, and jump down and have a look at that. Oops. You can see that it's if we turn wireframe mode on there, you can see the sawtooth there, so each of these actually rises above the ground, and we've got this on a sloping ground here, so it's not it's coping with the terrain pretty well. If I just turn wireframe off again, we'll go and add another piece now. Let's add another wall. This time we've got some portable railing. Whoop. make sure I click that button again. Let's come over here and create some railing. And you can see here I can bend it to my will. And there's a few other properties here similar to the walls tool. You've got rest on ground, which allows you to bring these things up in the air. The object isn't going up in the air even though the curve is, and the reason that is because object is lowered to the ground. If I put that onto the spline, you can now see that it's sitting up in the air. I'm holding down the Y key when I do this, so you move these things up in the air. Wouldn't really recommend it for railings. It looks a bit odd, but you could bend other concrete blocks, if you like, up into the air and form a nice looking bridge. Let's just plot that on the ground again. We're still on the ground, and set those objects down. So it's fairly easy to make these objects. The last one I'll make there is a fence, and if you look at this, I'll just do a few curves there. So you can do a fair amount of railings. You don't want to do one huge one that stretches all the way around your track. It'll be inefficient to do that. You want to break it up into smaller pieces. For R factor, especially for Richard Burns Rally, it's not such a issue. And so we can bend those around. You can change the properties of those so that they're straight, so that you're getting more a straight object, straight fencing rather than curved. But it handles all of that pretty well. And I think lastly I should probably just find some clear space. We can add some power lines. So I'll do this again using the curve tool, and I'll zoom back out so that we got a downward looking track, and I'll just plant a few nodes here and there. Click, click, and click. And let's just jump back down to the ground and look up at our power lines. So that's a fairly useful way of getting your power lines there. You know, as you expand it out, it'll put more poles in there. They all join together and makes for a good effect, and you can cross the road with them. So imagine, you know, driving through this is just going to look a whole lot better than tracks without all these objects. So good luck with that, and hopefully this release, version 0.6, will be out in March.